Welcome to the Psych Gym. I'm your trainer, Vanessa Perry, a former mental health therapist turned intuitive counselor. Much like a physical gym, in this space we'll aim to target specific psychological muscles and train them to be stronger. I'm so glad you are joining this gym. Let's hit the weights. Hi, welcome back to the Psych Gym, the space where we do the reps and strengthen our emotional muscles. I'm Vanessa, your trainer, of course. And today we're going to talk about something that hits home for me and a lot of people that I know. Trauma-driven hustle. Ouch. I know. Even just saying it out loud is like an admission, of former Catholic here. It sometimes feels like being in confession when I say some of these things out loud. We're going to dive into how trauma can become fuel, but not the good kind of fuel, not the kind that moves us forward healthy. Because you guys know that there have been times where I absolutely condone trauma-driven change, right? You know how I feel about spite fuel. Let's use it. If that's what we got, let's use it. But there's a way to do it that doesn't actually hurt us. And I think that this is the discussion that we're having today. If you feel like you're grinding really hard, but you don't really know why or where you're going or what you're doing, and it feels very empty, this is for you. I mean, it's for everybody, actually. I think that there's a lot of trauma-driven hustle going on out there. So let's define it the best that I can. Trauma-driven hustle is when your drive to succeed, stay busy, or make it is rooted in, I bet you can guess, unresolved emotional pain. Right? Everything is from unresolved emotional pain. That's what I'm here to talk about. It could be from your childhood, some of the messages that you got during childhood, some of that programming that you have. It can be from relationships. When somebody's depending on you, sometimes that can really create some trauma-driven hustle. And we have to dial it back a little bit so that you can still hustle, but we don't want it to be trauma-driven. Life-altering experiences, something terrible happening to you. I think that there's a lot of people that have financial trauma and sometimes big traumas and sometimes just continually through life financial traumas, and that can create a trauma-driven hustle drive as well. And, just the plain old societal norms that y'all know I can't stand. That societal programming. And what do I say? Somebody made it up and was manipulative enough to make everybody else believe it. Damn it. People with those kind of skills, they're so dangerous. So you may have grown up in scarcity emotionally or financially, right? I think a lot of people have. I think that the generation that grew up in the Depression, I think they, not on purpose, of course. Nobody on purpose wants to traumatize anybody. Well, not nobody, but this generation anyway. Whew, here we go. They passed along a lot of scarcity mindsets because they lived scarcity. And that's what happens with trauma, right? Like our brain goes, wait a minute, that is scary, and we want to make sure that never happens again. So here's a list of shit we can do to make sure that doesn't happen again. And then we're going to teach our children these things to make sure that they never have to deal with scarcity. And it gets passed on as trauma, as generational trauma, instead of like the teaching that is helpful, right? So we may have grown up in that mindset, and you may have grown up in actual scarcity. Really. You could have grown up in, even if it wasn't poverty, a lot of us heard our parents fighting about finances and security and things like that. So that gets right in there and becomes part of our programming, whether we want to believe it or not. It's the truth. Maybe you were constantly told you weren't good enough, or you were praised only when you achieved. That's one we hear. Oh, gosh, the amount of times I hear that one. Sometimes you had to be the strong one too early in life. I had to be the third parent in the house because my parents had to work so hard and so much that they had to lean on me. And not as a blame game, because we do not do that when we go backwards to look, I can see how that created kind of like a trauma-driven hustle, kind of like a you must always earn, or you must always be helpful, or you must always be achieving and being able to get praise for being strong and all of those kind of things, right? It's a mixed bag, y'all, is what I'm trying to say. So now you overwork, you overachieve, you overcommit, you have high expectations of yourself, you believe that literally there's never enough. And you're doing this not just to succeed, but you think you're doing it to survive. And I say think you're doing it to survive because a lot of times we are not needing to be in survival mode. We're putting ourselves in survival mode because of our actions not aligning with what actually creates success. The trauma is in the driver's seat at this point. And let me be clear. I need to be clear on this. It feels like ambition. It feels like it, right? You feel it inside your body. I feel it inside my body. When I am trying to rest and I'm like, oh my God, you got things to do. You should go record some podcasts because that is good for your success. And it's a good use of your time. Yeah, it feels like ambition. However, I need to relax. I need to lay in my hammock. I need to do those things. That's recharging so that I can be better in these spaces. But my trauma-driven hustle has another story for me. It also does look like success. Oh my gosh. A lot of times when people praise me for what I've done in my life, I'm like, it doesn't hit the way it's supposed to. It feels like, yeah, I mean, but I had to do it. I'm not driven by, well, I am now. Now I'm driven by fun and like what I want to do with my life. But that's because I freed myself from a bunch of things. But I freed myself from a bunch of things out of survival, right? I started my business because I could not put my 6-week-old baby in daycare. I couldn't do it. So I knew I had to come up with something else. And then when I did try to put her in daycare when she was like 4, I hated it and she hated it. And I was like, well, damn, you better ramp this up because this isn't the life that you want. But that came from anxiety, right? That came from fear, right? And on the outside, people are like, oh my God, look at you. You're so strong and you're so smart and you've done all these things. And I'm like, you have no idea the trauma behind that. And that's why, y'all, if you follow me on social media, you know that I try very hard to give you my trauma stories too, so that so people are not comparing me like that. It drives me nuts when people compare me like that I'm just gifted in this case. Like my trauma is always right behind me, breathing down my neck. Trust that. Anyway, there's this fear that if you stop doing it, everything will fall apart. And that is one of the major factors here, that everything will fall apart if you do not do it exactly this way. And this conversation I have with people all the freaking time. And it hurts. It hurts to watch people burn themselves out because of trauma-driven hustle. So let's talk about the signs. How do you know if your hustle is trauma-fueled, right? Because I'm sure right now you're sitting here going, oh shit, is this what I'm doing? Am I actually ambitious, or am I like letting fear chase me down every day? One of the biggest things, and I just talked about it a couple minutes ago, you feel guilty when you rest, like seriously guilty. You cannot enjoy your downtime without your brain telling you that you should be doing something. Yes, people, this is a trauma response. I know you don't want to hear it. I know that it, like your little addiction to ambition is like, that bitch is lying to you. But I'm not lying to you. If you trust me as the person who has been doing this work for a long time and has to do this personally, that is a trauma response. We should be able to enjoy our downtime because we earned our downtime, number one, right? And also, God, when I am well rested, I'm so much better at everything. And I have to keep telling myself that. Like, you have better ideas when you freaking sit in the hammock and just lay there and listen to music. You crash out way less, honestly, way less when you allow yourself to just mess around and just do stuff for the sake of wanting to do it without an outcome that you can point to as a success. So that's number one. And it's number one because it's the biggest one, I think. Well, it's the biggest one for me. Clearly, I wrote this entire podcast for myself. But maybe y'all can get something from it. Number two, you tie your self-worth to productivity. Ugh. You don't feel valuable if you're not doing something. Oh, God damn it. This sucks. This is the people pleaser's kryptonite, right? Like, no. My productivity, well, not the people pleaser, right? It's part of people pleasing, because there's a lot that goes into people pleasing, and I will definitely do a podcast on that. But anyway, our value, right? Our value being in the things that we do. Sometimes because the reward system within us, and I know that that's true for me. I do love to give to people. I do love making people feel like they're cared about, and that they're worthy of, just kind of receiving. However, on the other end, for me, I don't feel valuable if I'm receiving. So it's like a whole thing, right? It's a whole thing. What am I worth if other people are doing things for me? What am I worth if I don't have anything to point to of what I've been doing with my time? You are what you've been doing with your time. That's your productivity. Again, if we're not doing, if we're allowing ourselves to rest, the productivity is in regeneration. And I want you to hear that. The productivity is in regeneration. You have to regenerate in order to do things better. This is the psych gym. We have to have rest days so that our muscles can do what they do to strengthen. Otherwise, we're just hurting them over and over and over and over again, and they don't get an opportunity to strengthen. So we have to do that, right? We have to build those in there if we want to be doing it with longevity and doing it effectively. So number 3, you say yes to everything. This one I have definitely done so much better on. Overcommitting is your baseline. Oh my God, right? You're the one that everybody can count on to work 50 hours. You're the one that everybody can count on to just say yes, even if you're in the middle of something. You don't want to let anybody down. And not only do you not want to let anybody down, if you let somebody down and they're disappointed in you, you feel rejected. And that used to happen to me all the time. If I said no and somebody was disappointed in me, I felt like it was immediate rejection. Well, they don't like me. That's it. I ruined everything. Which sounds dramatic to say right now in my own body, but I know that that's true then. That was true then. And I know that that's true for a lot of people. I talk to a lot of people about this. No is a complete sentence. Overcommitting, it gets you nowhere. It gets you some short-term praise, but people don't see you. And then eventually, you burn out. You do. Number 4, you're afraid of failure, but you're more afraid of slowing down. Way back, and actually I just had a therapy intake because I had to get a new therapist now that I live in a different state. And she asked what my biggest fear was or something like that. And I was thinking back to like the MySpace days, right? And I was like, man, on those little like surveys that you pass around, my answer to that every time was failure. Every single time anybody asked me, what's your biggest fear? Failure. What does that mean? Just failure. I don't want to fail at anything. I want to be the best at everything. And y'all, that is still in there. It's still in there. Hustle becomes your coping mechanism. It's the distraction, right? It's the thing that if you're doing something, you don't have to sit in your failure, is really what this is saying, right? You're more afraid of slowing down because then you're going to have to like sit in everything. And it's so much easier to not sit in everything. So you keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. because I haven't failed if I'm still trying. I haven't failed if I'm still trying. Right? But you know what I learned? I failed a whole lot more when I did it that way, because I wasn't allowing myself to sit and look at my failures and be like, oh, what was the part that worked and what was the part that didn't, and just fix the part that didn't. And then you'll fail like 2, maybe 3 times instead of 10 times, because you're like, let me do this, let me do this, let me do this, let me do this, right? Panicking, right? Sitting in that, feeling like a disappointment. Oh God, I've learned how to feel like a disappointment. I mean, when you're me, right? You're me and you're all over the place and you do whatever you want. You get to learn how to let people be disappointed in you, but it's painful and I get it. And so I'm not trying to make light of it. It's a real freaking thing. And the last thing, you're constantly seeking external validation because you can't feel your internal worth. Your likes, your promotions, your praise, those hits of dopamine, they cover up what you haven't healed. And I mean, we're having this discussion about what it looks like. And the roots of this, again, they're so diverse, we don't even really know. You have to be able to sit down with yourself and be like, what is this external validation about? Right? And you have to dig deeper than, oh, I feel worthy. Like, nope, you got to go even deeper than that. What does worthiness mean to me? What happens to me if I'm worthless in somebody's life? Right? Like, what place do I have in this world as who I am, existing just as who I am? Do I feel like that is enough on this earth, or do I feel like I have to earn love? Do I earn love by just being me? Can somebody just love me? Yeah, I know, got deep. And we're talking about trauma-driven hustle, but that's what I have to do, right? All my clients know. We dig. It's never like, if I say in the pause, what did you come up with? And the first thing that they say is the only thing that they come up with. I'm like, you didn't dig deep enough. You got to ask yourself why until you get frustrated, right? Because you can be frustrated and then we can talk about it. Or you get to what feels like a root, like a deep rooted thing that actually touches more parts of your life than this one thing that you're struggling with. So if any of this sounds familiar, all right, I just told you that it sounds familiar to me. So do not feel shame or guilt or any of those negative feelings about this, please, because it's real. It happens. So there's so many people walking around with this. It's not even funny. So don't get down on yourself. I'm saying this not to shame you or make you feel bad about being a trauma-driven hustle person, but more to be like, look, open your eyes. You don't have to do it this way. It doesn't have to happen this way. And if you feel like your life is so hard because you're hustling to outrun your fear, I don't want that for you. And that's why I'm pointing all this stuff out. It's like eyes wide open. Like, hey, if this is what's really happening, let's figure out a different way to do this. So where does this come from? Most of us who fall into trauma-driven hustle patterns do not start there by choice, right? We are wired to survive. Maybe our family struggled and we learned or got the message that hard work was the only way to achieve or be seen. And that is sometimes through observation, right? How many times do we talk about, oh, he works so hard. What a sacrifice. God, that feels so virtuous, right? Meanwhile, it's like, that kind of sucks actually, because that's not a life, right? Like, I do not want to glorify this anymore. I am over glorifying working yourself to the bone, because that is not an enjoyable life. And I just don't want people to do that for 62 years and then be too tired to enjoy the rest of their life. Like, what kind of life is that? No, it's not the only way. Sorry, tangent. That was not written down, and I'm supposed to follow my little outlines. That got all fired up. Maybe you felt that your love was conditional, or that love felt conditional to you, like you had to earn it. I know that sucked. I didn't like saying it. A high percentage of us do have societal pressure trauma, right? We're looking at the person next to us, or we are working in a place that expects us to do some trauma-driven hustle stuff. For some, it can be traditionally gendered. Men, I'm looking at you. I see you. I talk to y'all all the time, and we talk about this. Any men, I don't know if men are listening that I see are listening to this podcast, but if they ever do, you don't see my face, but you see my face because you know what my face looks like when I have this voice on. Right? Yeah, we're trying to break that. We're trying to break that. It's okay to be a provider. It's okay for that to be your role, but you're worth so much more than what you provide. So much more. And it's a big mission on this earth, I feel like, for some of us to help that be seen. Everybody has a role in this life, multiple roles in this life that are extremely valuable to each other. And it is more than just what you can provide. For a lot of women, I mean, we're in the strong independent movement, so we're fucking this up pretty big. These We don't know what we're doing, like, to be honest, right? Like, we're just trying to be not what the generational trauma has given us as women, and we don't know what we're doing, right? So we're trying really hard, and it can fall into trauma driven hustle, right? There's a fine line, and sometimes we are not on the right side of that line, and it's important to think about that, right? Like, the women's movement isn't about trauma driven hustle. It isn't about never, ever, ever letting yourself rest, because that doesn't cease to make you strong. Trauma can create hypervigilance. You're always on the edge. You're always chasing the next thing. Oh God. I mean, I've only recently, I feel like, for me, started to like dial that back. The state of mind doesn't shut off like as you grow older, right? I'm 46. I'm like, whoa, there's still a lot of that stuff in there that was in my early 20s. What is going on? And you've also like created a lot of great stuff. What? Why is that still in there? But instead of dealing with that, you channel it into your work or your success or your achievement. You just kind of like, just let the status quo continue. But here's the kicker. Like, if the root is never addressed, no amount of success feels like enough. I know, and that sucks. Like, I totally get it. But we watch it happen all the time. It's an insane thing to think about, but God, it's a real thing. And I know that it's lame. And even worse, we use that to validate it. Like, we're like, oh, it's not enough, so we should keep going. That's what winners do. I'm laughing not at you. I'm laughing at me because, like, when you write stuff like this and you're like, oh, you're writing it, and then you have to say it out loud because, I mean, it came from me. Right? I'm like, that's what winners do. I've said it so many times in my life. Complacency is the emotion of laziness, right? It's wrong, y'all. It's wrong. We have to figure out multiple levels of enough, multiple levels of, this is great. Let me hang out here. And if I want something else, it's not because I'm not good enough. It's because I'm curious about what something else could do for me. Simply curious. So the rewards and the risks of trauma-driven hustle. There are rewards, unfortunately, which is why people do it. It keeps getting passed down. Trauma-driven people are often extremely relentless, resourceful, resilient. You know how to show up, grind, push past your limits, and you get results. Sucks, right? Like, we talk about our unhealthy coping mechanisms, and we're like, well, they work, and so that's why I do them. Same concept, right? It's really hard to break ourselves of cycles that we know work, because it feels like we're telling the brain, like, we're just going to put you in a really unsafe place. Does that sound better than being in a safe place? And the brain's like, no, it absolutely does not. And so I'm going to fight to do the thing that is the safe place, the thing that I know, the pathway that is extremely strong. I do not want to grow this very baby pathway. I don't want to do it. And so that's where, like, it's almost like we have to create trauma-driven hustle to get rid of trauma-driven hustle, right? Like, I have to see my trauma and be like, oh my God, I'm traumatized by my trauma and I want to do something different. But we're not going to do it in burnout. We're not going to do it with anxiety. We're going to do it with love and compassion. So anyway, there's a cost, right? Burnout, obviously, anxiety, broken relationships. The amount of times that this has gotten in the way of people's relationships, whether it's because of the trauma-driven hustle or because of the anxiety of not measuring up. That happens so much in relationships. I can't even tell you. People comparing themselves to each other and being like, well, I'm not doing enough. And then not listening to their partner when their partner is like, you are doing everything that makes me happy, you know? But like there's this trauma in there that's like, well, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I'm not worthy. I am not valuable enough. These are the only ways that I see myself as valuable. So I can't even see what you're telling me about myself being valuable. Ugh. Ouch. And lastly, that beautiful sense of emptiness even after you win or achieve. Mm-hmm. Right? You get it and you're like, all right, thanks. You end up climbing this ladder, right? Like you climb this ladder and then you realize it's not even on the right place. You have title, money, recognition, whatever, but you're still hurting inside or you're feeling nothing, which I think is like scary, right? Like if I'm hurting, I feel alive. If I feel nothing, I'm like, oh shit, you're in trouble, girl. Like you need to do some things. So let's get to the healing part, right? Like now that you're feeling pretty shitty, right? And I'm not feeling great myself, to be honest. Again, when I write things that are kind of about myself and then I have to say them out loud, I get it. This is why I totally understand why it's difficult for my clients, because it's like, well, here's your awareness. Well, that's what we're about to talk about. But, you know, like, here it is. And now you're going to admit it out loud. And so there's accountability and a different force of recognition. Fun. So that's where I'm at right now. All right. How do we heal it? Let's just get here. How do we keep, because I know when you hear that I want to heal your trauma-driven hustle, I know that your brain is like, you want me to be lazy, right? I mean, that's what my brain would say. I want you to keep your drive. I do. Your drive and your motivations, your beautiful drive and motivations. I want you to keep them, but I do not want it to be because of trauma. I don't want trauma to run the show. So number one, with everything, y'all know this, awareness. We have to find the awareness of what the fuck is going on, right? The detective work. That's what I tell my clients. Like, you have to go do the detective work and then you're going to bring it to me and we're going to figure it out together, right? Like, you're going to get the bulk of the information and then you and I are going to talk about it. I'm going to ask you more questions so we can get more information, so we can really be aware of what we're doing. Because if we're slapping Band-Aids on the wrong thing, we're creating more failures and we're making this harder for ourselves. Let's not do that, right? So we're going to start by asking, what am I really chasing? And that, y'all, it's a drive down, a drill down, right? Because you can't just say your big blanket words, success, love. You can't even, you can't even like say love, because you have to say more than love. You have to say acceptance. You have to, be able to say, some deeper words and multiple words. If it's one thing, we're not digging deeper. A lot of times you can just listen to your body, right? You might also definitely just want to ask who taught you that. That's so much easier, right? Whose voice is that? Who told me that that's the way? Who told me that that's valuable? Do I believe it? Is it valuable to me? If I didn't have anybody else to rely on me, or if I didn't have anybody else to report to, is this what I would really want to do? Is this how I would want to do it? Really, how I want to do it is the bigger question. So it helps people, like, sometimes the third or the fourth time, this hardly ever gets handled the first time that I talk about it, because it's very deep. These are a lot of deep rooted issues. But we talk about, if all that programming was gone, all of it, and nobody, you were just clean slate, and you're in a society where people are just like, do whatever you want to do. How does that work? Right? Like, what would you do if time and money were not a thing? Because yes, time and money are a thing, but we're going to integrate those things, right? Anybody who works with me knows that I'm going to work with you, and we're going to do it in a step-by-step. It is not just jump. I'm not just going to be like, well, here's the only option for you. We're going to do transitions. The therapy, right? Mm-hmm. Or self-work. If you feel like you need to do some of it on your own, that's totally fine. Journaling, burn journaling, right? Get some venting out. But then also, sometimes people are really good at writing things down and just coming up with ways to release these kinds of traumas. We could also go right ahead and redefine success. How about that? Oh, right. I feel very successful in my life. Do I have tons of money? Absolutely not. And I'm very, I don't want to say bad with money, but I kind of spend all of it. But I feel very successful in that I love my life. It is successful to me to wake up without an alarm, unless I'm going on a trip or I have a doctor's appointment that I'm afraid to sleep through. To me, that is success. I feel successful when I don't have to answer to a boss, although sometimes me being the boss and not answering to myself is a thing, but you work through it. We have to redefine that. Maybe it's about peace. Maybe it's literally just a feeling of being whole. Maybe it's feeling that you're living surrounded by love, less anxiety, more joy. These are all successes. Successes that we're not really taught are valuable, but they are the successes that our heart and our soul actually want. And these are the successes that whenever our life comes to an end, we look back on with happiness, right? We look back and be like, oh, all the memories, right? Again, my clients have heard this a million times. We do not want to be on our deathbed going, wow, I worked my ass off and that's all I did. Yay me. What a life. Fuck that. For lack of a better way to say that. Fuck that. I am not interested in that. I am very excited to be on my deathbed and be like, I did whatever the fuck I wanted. I did. It took me a while to figure that out, but I did it. I did everything that I wanted to do. And the things I wanted to do and I didn't do, I know why I didn't do them. I was free. That's what I want at the end of my life, is to say, man, I freed myself and I lived freely. Right? That doesn't mean I'm free from money. It means that I'm free from the binding of money. And that's things I work on all the time, but that's what I'm aiming for. To me, that's a successful life. And I feel like a lot of us have that inside, and it's just buried under a bunch of this bullshit that has been taught to us and the trauma that has been inflicted on us, whether with intent or not with intent. So one of the other things that you're going to need to do is set boundaries with yourself. You're going to have to create your space to breathe and rest. Yeah, this is really hard. And I know it's hard. It's still hard for me, but I love my fucking hammock. And like, if you don't have a hammock, get a hammock. Because even when I try to work in my hammock, it's like I can't work in my hammock for very long before I'm just hammocking. Right? Like it's just a chill place for me. And I love that thing for that. It's funny. I really learned how to do this though, and I'm just gonna make an admission. I had a partner who was so good at chilling out. Like this dude wanted to chill all the time. Like that was his dream, was to chill all the time. He was like, if I could never work, that'd be great. And I was like horrified, right? Like, what the fuck? Like, what? And so because I was in a relationship, I felt obligated to like hang out instead of working at night. I used to work every night on something. And it helped me create a new pattern of behavior. And that's been so good for me. It's not a perfect process because as I typed out this script, I was watching NHL playoffs, right? Like, so I was supposed to be chilling, but I was inspired. And so I did it. But after I finished it, I put it away. I didn't do the next one. For real. But I have to set those boundaries with myself. When I sit down and I say, I'm going to rest, and then I start to get up, I have to it's like I have to energetically push myself down. Like, nope. What you need to do is daydream or put your earbuds in and meditate if you can't sit still, because your nervous system needs this break. Your body needs this break. If your brain doesn't want it too fucking bad, the rest of your body needs it. And so we're going to do that. So put in your earbuds, put some music on, or like go sit in the hammock or, whatever, right? Like you have to set boundaries and you have to be committed. And the only way that we commit to our boundaries is if we believe that they are for our highest good. So again, we go back to that belief system. We have to work really hard on our belief systems about success, what's good for us, what we're really looking for in this life. All right. And lastly, we're going to find a purpose, not just performance. And I didn't write that on my own, y'all. I wish I did, because it's really great. And yeah, find purpose, not performance. Let your work be like an extension of your healing. Use your milestones as a way to congratulate yourself for finding balance, right? Like when you achieve and you're chilling, like it's a whole other feeling of being like, oh, look at me. I'm like doing both. I want you to have that feeling, right? Like I am dualistic in this world. That feels amazing. So notice that even the little wins when you're achieving balance, like you're having your achievements and you're moving toward things. And sometimes it means that you go a little bit slower, but you'll still get there because you'll get there. But you feel more balanced and you feel like you have more joy in your life and you feel like you're actually living your life and life's not living you. I promise you on that one. It took me a while to get there, but it feels so good. And I want to make it clear, super clear. You don't have to stop hustling. I'm not shaming you if you're caught up in the hustle or if you like it or whatever, but you are listening to this for a reason. Mm-hmm. Yes. And so somewhere inside of you is a part that wants more peace and balance. You deserve to achieve from a place of wholeness, not from your wounds. Yeah, I'm just going to let that one sit there. I'm going to say it again, actually. You deserve to achieve from a place of wholeness, not from your wounds. If all of this resonated with you, you're not alone. You're not even broken. You're not too far gone. You're not a hot mess. You're just someone who had to survive, and now you are going to learn how to live. That's all. If you liked today's episode, make sure that you share it if you think somebody could use what's in here. If you need some help, you can hit me up on the socials, and we can talk about this. And until next time, take care of yourself. You're allowed to slow down. You're allowed to heal. Thank you for letting me be your guide today. Love y'all. Thanks for listening. To learn more about what I do and how to work with me, head to thepsychgym.com to check it out. Keep lifting, y'all. It's worth it.